3 days ago, while you were moving through what felt like just another exhausting day in an endless sequence of exhausting days, something happened in the invisible dimensions that you were too depleted to recognize. Your conscious mind registered only fatigue, confusion, perhaps disappointment or pain. But in the unseen realms, where human spiritual development is monitored with precision that would terrify most people if they understood how thoroughly they are observed, a monumental evaluation was taking place. Not of your theology, not of your religious performance, not of how many hours you spent in prayer or meditation or reading sacred texts. The evaluation was infinitely more penetrating than that. They were watching to see who you are when every mask falls away from pure exhaustion, when you lack the energy to perform any version of yourself, when you are stripped down to your absolute core essence with nothing left to hide behind, and you passed. Not marginally, not barely, not by some cosmic curve that grants mercy to those who almost make it. You passed with such undeniable demonstration of transformed character that something extraordinary was set into motion in the spiritual bureaucracy that governs human elevation. The Council of Elevation, as ancient mystics called it, immediately convened. Tonight, at precisely 3:33 in the morning, a dimensional shift will occur that your physical eyes cannot perceive, but your soul will register with absolute certainty. What you are about to experience represents the culmination of years, perhaps decades, of preparation you did not know you were undergoing. Everything that broke you was actually forging you. Every betrayal that devastated you was actually purifying you. Every season of isolation that made you question your sanity was actually protecting you from contamination, while your character was being reconstructed at the foundation level. This is not motivational content designed to make you feel temporarily better. This is operational intelligence about what happened 3 days ago and what happens tonight while you sleep. Between approximately 4 in the afternoon and 8 in the evening 72 hours ago, you were pushed beyond what you believed was your breaking point. The specific circumstances vary for each person reading this, but the architecture of the test is universal. Perhaps a conversation detonated every emotional wound you thought had finally healed, reopening trauma you believed you had successfully processed. Maybe profound loneliness descended on you with such crushing weight that you could not even cry anymore. Just numbly observe your own pain from some detached place inside yourself. Perhaps betrayal arrived so unexpectedly, from such an unlikely source, that your mind could not process the information, leaving you in that strange fog where you functioned but felt like you were watching yourself from outside your body. Or maybe exhaustion became so absolute, so total, so overwhelming that you operated purely on instinct, moving through necessary actions with no energy left to calculate responses or manage perceptions or perform any curated version of who you think you should be. In that specific moment of complete depletion, something remarkable happened that the spiritual realm was watching for with laser focus. Your automatic response, your instinctive reaction, your default setting when all conscious control disappeared, was integrity. When someone attacked you verbally, instead of retaliating with the devastating words you absolutely had available, you remained silent. When you were given information that could benefit you at another person's expense, something fundamental in you refused to weaponize it, even though no one would have blamed you. When opportunity presented itself to expose someone who had wounded you, to reveal their secrets, to ensure they faced consequences for what they did, something deeper than your conscious decision-making said no. When faced with the choice between your own comfort and another person's well-being, you chose their welfare without deliberation, without internal debate, without congratulating yourself for being noble. You simply could not do otherwise, because your goodness is no longer something you perform when you have the energy to be virtuous. It has become your default operating system, which is the second key I explore in The 3 Keys to a Prosperous Life. where we discover how transformed character operates automatically rather than through forced discipline. You can find the complete trilogy in the pinned comment below, because what we are discussing tonight builds on foundations laid in those deeper teachings. But for now, understand this. The specific situation 3 days ago varied for each person, but the revelation is universal across everyone experiencing this coronation. Your integrity is no longer a conscious choice you make when you feel strong. It has become your automatic setting, your essence made visible when all masks fall away from exhaustion. This distinction is everything. This is what the spiritual realm was evaluating with surgical precision, because anyone can perform goodness when they feel energized, motivated, witnessed. The true test of transformation is who you are when you lack the energy to be anyone other than your truest self. Who emerges when masks drop because you are too tired to hold them up? Who are you when no one is watching and no one will ever know what you chose? That singular question reveals whether transformation is genuine or merely performed, whether character has been forged in actual fire or only mimicked through willpower and religious discipline. 3 days ago, in your moment of total exhaustion, you answered that question with such clarity that something unprecedented happened in the observation deck of the spiritual realm, where assigned consciousness monitors human development. Let me explain what that means, because most people have no framework for understanding how the invisible dimensions function. In the metaphysical architecture that most humans never perceive, certain elevated consciousnesses are assigned to monitor specific human beings who show potential for genuine transformation. Not everyone is monitored this closely. Most people move through life making the same choices repeatedly, operating from the same wounded patterns decade after decade, never genuinely changing at the core level. Those humans are not ignored or unloved, but they do not require intensive observation because their trajectory is predictable. But you have been watched closely for years now, because you demonstrated early signs of someone who might actually transform rather than just improve their circumstances, or develop better coping mechanisms, or learn to perform spirituality more convincingly. The consciousness assigned to monitor your development has been filing detailed reports about your progress, noting when you broke through old patterns, documenting when you relapsed into familiar dysfunction, recording every moment of genuine growth versus every moment of spiritual theater. These monitors do not judge in the way humans judge. They simply observe and report with the precision of scientists tracking an experiment's progress. And 3 days ago, when you were pushed to your absolute limit and responded with integrity despite having every justification to respond with vengeance or self-protection or calculated manipulation, your assigned monitor filed a report that essentially said, "Transformation complete, subject ready for elevation, recommend immediate advancement to next operational level." That report triggered what happens tonight. But before we discuss what occurs at 3:33 this morning, you need to understand the biological and psychological mechanisms that were operating 3 days ago, because the spiritual realm never works in isolation from the physical realm. They are not separate dimensions, but interpenetrating realities, and what happens in one always manifests in the other. 3 days ago, your nervous system was under such extreme stress that your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function and decision-making and impulse control, was essentially offline. When cortisol floods your system at levels that signal genuine threat rather than mere discomfort, your brain automatically shifts into survival mode, which means the sophisticated reasoning centers shut down and your most primitive neural circuitry takes over. In that state, human beings typically revert to their deepest conditioning, their earliest learned patterns, their most ingrained defaults. If you were raised in an environment where attack meant counterattack, where vulnerability meant exploitation, where showing weakness meant being destroyed, then your survival circuitry would have automatically deployed those defensive strategies 3 days ago. But instead, your survival circuitry deployed integrity. Your most primitive neural pathways, the ones that operate when all higher functioning goes offline, are now wired for goodness. That is not something you can fake. That is not something willpower can manufacture. That level of transformation only occurs when someone has done such deep work on themselves, has processed so much trauma, has rewired so many dysfunctional patterns that their very neurobiology has been reconstructed. The person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would have responded completely differently in that same situation 3 days ago. The fact that you responded with integrity while your prefrontal cortex was offline proves that you have genuinely changed at the level of your automatic nervous system responses. This is why the spiritual realm erupted in recognition when you passed the test. They were not applauding your theological understanding or your ability to quote scripture or your hours spent in meditation. They were acknowledging the extraordinarily rare moment when a human being demonstrates that transformation has penetrated all the way down to their neurobiological wiring, which means it is permanent rather than circumstantial. You cannot untransform at this level. You might still make mistakes, might still have moments of weakness, might still struggle and stumble, but you can never go back to being who you were before, because that person literally no longer exists at the cellular level. Your nervous system has been rewired, your neural pathways have been rebuilt, your automatic responses have been reprogrammed. That is the level of work required to pass the 72-hour test. And that is why so few people ever pass it. Throughout human history, every wisdom tradition has recognized that genuine spiritual authority cannot be granted until character has been proven under conditions that strip away all pretense. The Hebrew prophets spoke of the refiner's fire that burns away impurities until only pure metal remains. The Christian mystics described the dark night of the soul, where everything false must be surrendered before truth can be grasped. The Buddhist masters taught that enlightenment only comes after the ego has been completely shattered and reconstructed. The Sufi poets wrote about annihilation of the false self as the prerequisite for meeting the true self. These are not different teachings from different traditions. They are the same teaching expressed through different cultural lenses, because the spiritual mechanics of transformation are universal regardless of which religious vocabulary someone uses to describe them. And the mechanics always require a crucible moment, a testing under fire, a point where the person faces conditions so extreme that only their truest essence can respond because everything else has been burned away. For some, that crucible stretched over years of sustained suffering. For others, it concentrated into a single devastating season. For you, it culminated 3 days ago in that moment when you were too exhausted to be anyone but yourself, and yourself turned out to be good. Not performatively good, not strategically good, not good because you calculated that goodness might benefit you eventually. Just good because you cannot be otherwise anymore. That goodness is who you are now at the automatic level, which means you have become someone the universe can trust with power, because you have proven you will not abuse it, even when you have every justification to do so. Tonight, at 3:33 in the morning, while your conscious mind sleeps and your analytical faculties rest, your soul will stand before what ancient texts call the court of heaven. This is not a metaphor. This is not symbolic language designed to make spiritual concepts accessible to human comprehension. This is operational description of an actual dimensional phenomenon that occurs at specific coordinates in the invisible realms. The court of heaven functions as the authorization chamber where spiritual capacities are granted based on character rather than desire or religious performance, or how much someone wants power or thinks they deserve elevation. The universe operates on meritocracy at the spiritual level, but merit is not measured by human metrics. It is measured by one question: Can this person be trusted with more power than they currently have? That question is why the test 3 days ago was necessary. The spiritual realm never grants authority to anyone who might abuse it, because power in corrupted hands creates exponential damage that ripples across dimensions in ways most humans cannot perceive. Every tyrant in human history, every cult leader who destroyed lives, every corrupt religious authority who weaponized spirituality for personal gain, every manipulator who used spiritual language to control vulnerable people started as someone who was granted power before their character was ready to steward it properly. The universe learned long ago, through catastrophic consequences played out across millennia, that power must only be granted after character has been forged and tested and proven under conditions that eliminate all doubt. You passed that test. Tonight, you receive the power, but power is not what most people imagine when they hear that word. The authorizations granted at 3:33 this morning are not abilities to control people or circumstances or manifest material possessions through visualization techniques. They are capacities that operate at the level of consciousness and presence and spiritual authority, and they will fundamentally alter how you move through the world, even though nothing about your external circumstances might change immediately. The first authorization is accelerated wisdom, which is the capacity to understand situations, people, and circumstances at levels that completely bypass intellectual analysis. You will begin knowing things you have no logical reason to know, sensing what operates beneath conversational surfaces, feeling when something is misaligned before you can explain why, understanding people's true motivations without them revealing anything verbally, perceiving the spiritual dynamics in a room the way your eyes perceive physical objects. This is not psychic ability in the way popular culture describes psychic powers. This is discernment elevated to the level where your spirit reads spiritual activity with the same natural ease that your eyes read physical reality. It will feel so natural that you will not recognize it as supernatural. You will simply know things, and later, when events prove you correct, you will wonder how you knew. That sense of wonder, that confusion about your own knowing, is how you will recognize that this authorization is active. The biological mechanism behind accelerated wisdom involves your pineal gland, that small pine cone-shaped structure deep in your brain that ancient traditions called the third eye, beginning to function at levels that modern science does not fully understand because most researchers still approach the pineal gland as merely a melatonin-producing endocrine organ. But the pineal gland contains crystalline structures that respond to frequencies beyond the visible light spectrum, which means it functions as a receiver for information that does not enter through your 5 physical senses. When your character reaches the level where you can be trusted with accelerated wisdom, your pineal gland begins decalcifying if it has been calcified by fluoride and environmental toxins, and it starts resonating with dimensional frequencies that carry information not available through conventional perception. You will know this is happening when you start having experiences where you know something about a person or situation before you have any logical basis for that knowledge, and later, reality confirms what you sensed. Someone will be speaking to you, presenting a certain narrative about themselves, and you will know without doubt that they are not telling the truth. Not because their story has logical inconsistencies, but because you can feel the dissonance between their words and their actual energy. Or you will be considering a decision, weighing options logically, and you will know with absolute certainty which choice aligns with your path, even if that choice makes no logical sense according to conventional wisdom. Or you will be in a conversation where nothing overtly negative is being said, but you will feel darkness in the room and know that you need to leave immediately. And later you will discover that the person you were speaking with had intentions toward you that were not revealed in their words. This level of discernment terrifies people who are accustomed to hiding behind social masks, because you will be able to see through those masks effortlessly. You will know when people are lying without them saying anything that is demonstrably false. You will sense manipulation before it manifests in action. You will feel when someone is energetically draining you, even if they are speaking kind words. And this creates a paradox you must learn to navigate with wisdom, because just because you can see through people's masks does not mean you should expose what you see. The accelerated wisdom authorization comes with the responsibility to use discernment for protection and decision-making, not for judgment and exposure. This is where most people fail after receiving elevated discernment. They begin seeing through people's facades, and they feel compelled to point out what they see, to expose the truth, to reveal what is hidden, believing they are serving truth and helping people by showing them their blind spots. But that impulse, that compulsion to expose, usually comes from wounded ego rather than genuine compassion. True wisdom knows when to speak and when to remain silent. It understands that most people are not ready to face their own darkness, and forcing confrontation before someone is ready does not produce transformation, but rather defensiveness and deeper entrenchment in dysfunction. The accelerated wisdom you receive tonight includes not just the capacity to see truth, but the discernment to know when revealing truth serves love and when it serves ego. The second authorization is unshakable peace, which is completely different from happiness or positive emotions or feeling good. Happiness depends on circumstances aligning with your preferences. Joy arises from pleasant experiences. Contentment comes from having your needs met. But peace, true spiritual peace, exists regardless of conditions. It is the capacity to walk through storms feeling calm, to face attacks feeling steady, to encounter chaos feeling centered, not because nothing affects you, but because you are rooted in something deeper than circumstances. You will begin experiencing this peace as an almost tangible presence inside you, like an underground river that flows constantly, regardless of what is happening on the surface of your life. Biologically, unshakable peace corresponds to your nervous system achieving what neuroscientists call vagal tone, which is the capacity of your vagus nerve to maintain parasympathetic dominance even under stress. Your vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in your body, running from your brainstem, through your neck and chest, down into your abdomen. And it functions as the primary channel of communication between your brain and your body. When your vagus nerve has high tone, meaning it is well developed and robust, your nervous system can activate the relaxation response quickly, even when stresses are present. You remain physiologically calm while navigating circumstances that would send most people's nervous systems into sympathetic overdrive. The reason this peace feels unshakable is because it is not produced by external circumstances or positive thinking or breathing techniques, though those things can support it. This peace emerges from having survived so much suffering that your nervous system has been trained at the deepest level to remain regulated under conditions that would dysregulate most people. You have developed emotional musculature that most humans never build because they have not been required to endure the weight you have carried. Every betrayal you survived, every abandonment you weathered, every loss you integrated, every disappointment you processed, strengthened your capacity to remain stable when everything around you destabilizes. You can feel deeply without being controlled by feelings. You can care profoundly without being consumed by concern. You can love with your whole heart without losing yourself in another person. That is the gift that suffering brings when suffering is processed properly rather than suppressed or bypassed. People will notice this peace, and it will unsettle them because they will not understand it. They will throw provocations at you, expecting you to react the way you used to react, the way most people react, and when you respond with calm where chaos used to live, they will be confused. Some will respect your groundedness and will be drawn to you, hoping your peace might somehow transfer to them. Others will be threatened by your stability because it reflects their own instability, and they will unconsciously escalate their provocations, trying to pull you back into the drama they live in. This is how you will know who belongs in your next chapter and who belongs in your past. The people who respect your peace will rise with you. The people who need you to stay chaotic so they can feel normal around you will fall away, and you must let them go without guilt, because you cannot bring everyone with you into new dimensions of consciousness. The third authorization is spiritual authority, which is the most difficult to explain because it operates at levels that language struggles to capture. Spiritual authority is not about controlling anyone or anything. It is not the ability to command circumstances or force reality to conform to your will. It is not dominance or power over others. Spiritual authority is about your presence carrying weight in the spiritual atmosphere. When you speak, people listen, not because you are loud, but because your words carry frequency that resonates at a level deeper than their conscious hearing. When you are silent, people respect that silence because they unconsciously recognize that you choose silence from strength rather than weakness. When you set boundaries, those boundaries hold because you are no longer negotiating with people about what you have already decided is necessary for your well-being. When you make decisions, reality begins aligning around those decisions in ways that feel almost magical, but are actually the result of your consciousness operating from a level where you can influence the morphic field, the invisible web of interconnection through which all consciousness communicates. This authorization is the most dangerous to grant because it can be catastrophically destructive in hands that have not been purified by suffering. Every cult leader who destroyed lives, every religious manipulator who weaponized scripture, every spiritual teacher who used their position to exploit vulnerable students, every charismatic personality who built empires on broken people, possessed this level of authority but lacked the character to steward it properly. Their presence carried weight, their words moved people, their decisions shaped reality. But they used that power for ego rather than service, for personal gain rather than collective elevation, for control rather than liberation. And the damage they caused rippled across generations because spiritual authority is exponentially more powerful than physical force, which means spiritual abuse creates exponentially deeper wounds than physical abuse. This is why the universe tests so rigorously before granting this authorization. The question is never whether you want authority or think you deserve authority or have worked hard to earn authority. The question is whether you can be trusted to never abuse authority, even when you have every justification to do so, even when no one would know, even when abusing it might benefit you in the short term. 3 days ago, you answered that question conclusively when you chose integrity at your moment of greatest depletion. Tonight you receive authority not as a reward for being good, but as a tool that can now be trusted in your hands, because you have proven beyond doubt that you will not weaponize it against people, even when people weaponize themselves against you. The way you will recognize this authorization is active, is that your presence will begin affecting rooms differently. When you walk into a space, the energy shifts. Not because you are trying to control the atmosphere, but because your consciousness carries a frequency that influences the collective field. Arguments will quiet when you arrive, not because people fear you, but because something in them recognizes you carry peace, and they unconsciously want to move toward that peace. Confusion will clarify in your presence. Chaos will organize itself. Dysfunction will expose itself, not because you point it out, but because light reveals what darkness conceals, and you are becoming a carrier of light at the cellular level. You will also notice that when you speak into situations, your words land with unusual impact. Not every word you speak, not casual conversation, but when you speak from that deep place inside you where soul communicates rather than personality, your words will penetrate in ways that defy explanation. You will say something that seems simple to you, but the person receiving it will remember that statement for years because it unlocked something in them that needed to unlock at that precise moment. You are becoming what ancient traditions called a way shower, someone whose very existence creates pathways for others who are trying to find their way through darkness into light. But this authority comes with sobering responsibility that you must understand before you fully step into it. Everything you say will carry more weight now. Everything you do will influence more people than you realize. Your private choices will have public consequences because you are no longer operating as an isolated individual, but as someone whose consciousness is entangled with collective consciousness in ways that create ripple effects you cannot fully track. This means you must become increasingly vigilant about your motivations, increasingly honest about your shadow material, increasingly willing to examine yourself before you examine others. The moment you begin using your authority to dominate rather than serve, to control rather than liberate, to elevate yourself rather than empower others, you will begin losing it, not immediately, but gradually. Like a slow leak that empties a container so subtly you do not notice until it is already empty. When you wake tomorrow morning, you will feel different even if you cannot articulate how you are different. There will be a quality of clarity in your mind that feels almost eerie, like someone cleaned windows you did not.